You've arrived at the Candlelit Archive, a place that does not appear on maps and does not exist during the day. Only when the world grows quiet and the thoughts in your mind begin to slow does it open for you. Tonight, you have been granted access to one of its quietest rooms. A story that was never meant to be rushed. So you do not need to stay awake. In fact, you are not expected to. Just listen as long as you can and let the rest fade on its own. There are nights when the mind becomes a house with every window lit, every room awake, every door half open. Thoughts wander from place to place, carrying little lamps, lifting old sheets, opening drawers, searching for something they cannot name. On those nights, even silence feels busy. Even the dark seems to ask questions. But tonight's story is not a question. Tonight's story is a room prepared for you. A chair beside the window. A kettle just beginning to steam. A candle steady in its glass. A voice saying softly, "You don't have to think tonight." So settle in. Let the day loosen its hand. and listen. Mara Ellaway first saw the house on an evening when she had forgotten where she was going. Not truly forgot. She had meant to walk to the village shop before it closed to buy tea, thread, and a small packet of sugar. But halfway down the lane, she stopped. The sky was lavender at the edges. Rain had just finished falling. Every stone in the road held a little shine. And Mara realized she had been thinking without pause since morning. Thinking about letters unanswered. Thinking about bills folded beneath the blue bowl on her table. Thinking about a conversation she wished she had handled differently. Thinking about whether she was too late, too early, too much, not enough. The thoughts did not arrive one at a time. They came like birds startled from a tree. All at once. So she stopped beneath a crooked street lamp and closed her eyes. And that was when she heard someone say, "You don't have to think tonight." Mara opened her eyes. No one stood beside her. The lane was empty. The shop at the corner was still 3 streets away. But beside the old stone wall, where there had never been anything but ivy and nettles, there was now a narrow path. It curved gently into mist. At the end of it stood a house, small, warmly lit, quiet. A house she had never seen before. And yet it seemed to be waiting for her. Mara should have turned back. That would have been sensible. But some places do not invite the sensible part of us. They invite the tired part, the tender heart, the part that has been carrying too much for too long and would follow the scent of warm bread. She walked down the narrow path. The grass on either side was silver with rain. No wind moved. No birds called. Only the house seemed awake. Its windows glowed softly, amber behind thin curtains. Smoke rose from one chimney in a perfectly straight line. At the door hung a brass knocker shaped like a sleeping moth. Before Mara could lift it, the door opened. An old woman stood there, though old was not quite the right word. She had silver hair braided over one shoulder, kind eyes, and a face that seemed made of many years of listening. "Come in," she said. Mara hesitated. "I don't know you." "No," the woman said gently, "but you know why you're here." Mara wanted to ask what she meant. She wanted to explain that she had only been going to the shop. She wanted to say she did not usually walk into unknown houses at dusk. But before she could gather a single sentence, the woman stepped aside and said again, "You don't have to think tonight." And for the first time in many days, Mara believed someone. Inside, the house was larger than it had looked from the lane. Not grand, not frightening, simply deep. The hallway stretched farther than it should have, lined with little framed paintings of moonlit gardens, sleeping towns, closed books, empty boats, folded letters. A clock ticked somewhere, but slowly. Not like an ordinary clock. This one seemed to count breaths instead of seconds. The old woman led Mara into a sitting room. There was a fire in the grate. A round table beside it. Two chairs. A blue teapot. And shelves upon shelves of books whose titles made Mara blink. Things that can wait until morning. The art of leaving windows closed. Apologies, you are allowed to stop rehearsing. Every worry that was smaller than it pretended to be. Mara moved closer to the shelves. Are these real books? A woman smiled. Real enough. is this place? A resting house for travelers, for thoughts. Mara looked at her. The woman poured tea into a cup so thin the firelight shone through it. Some thoughts are useful, she said. Some protect us. Some guide us. Some help us mend what can be mended. She handed Mara the cup. But some thoughts grow tired too. They pace and pace because no one has told them they may sit down. Mara stared into the tea. Steam curled upward in soft white ribbons. And mine? The old woman sat across from her. Yours have been walking all day. For a while, Mara said nothing. The tea tasted faintly of honey, air, and rain. The fire made a low, steady sound. Outside the window, evening had deepened into blue. The old woman reached beneath the table and brought out a wooden tray. On it were tiny lanterns, no larger than walnuts, each with a handle of twisted wire. Some glowed brightly. Some flickered. Some were dark. What are those? Mara asked. Thoughts that followed you here. Mara leaned back. They followed me. Of course, thoughts are loyal things, even when they are troublesome. The old woman lifted one lantern Inside it, a small light trembled. This one is the thought about the letter you have not answered. Mara looked away. I should have answered it. Perhaps. The woman set the lantern gently on the table, but not tonight. She lifted another. This one is the thought about whether you disappointed someone. Mara's throat tightened. The woman placed it beside the first. This one is the thought about money. Another lantern. This one is the thought about time. Another. This one is the thought that you are falling behind in a race no one else can see. Mara closed her eyes. The old woman did not rush her. When Mara opened them again, the lanterns were resting in a neat little row. Quiet, waiting. What do I do with them? Mara whispered. Nothing. Nothing. Tonight, you let them rest. The old woman carried the tray of lanterns to the mantel, where each little light softened. Then she stood. There is one room you should see before you sleep. Mara followed her up a staircase that curved gently, though Mara was certain the house had only been one story from the outside. At the top was a landing with 7 doors. Behind one came the faint sound of ocean waves. Behind another, pages turning. Behind another, someone humming a song from childhood. The old woman opened the last door. This is the rain room. Inside was a bedroom with a low bed, white curtains, and a ceiling made entirely of glass. Above it, rain was falling. Not storm rain, not cold rain, soft rain, the kind that makes roofs remember they are roofs. But when Mara looked out the window, she saw that the sky outside the house was clear and full of stars. "How can it be raining in here?" she asked. The old woman adjusted the quilt. "Some rooms know what we need." Mara stepped inside. The bed smelled of lavender and clean cotton. On the bedside table sat a candle, a glass of water, and one small book. Its title read, "Tomorrow will knock gently." Mara touched the cover. "What happens if I sleep here?" The woman smiled. "Morning comes. And if I don't know what to do in the morning, then morning will bring only what belongs to morning." Mara sat on the edge of the bed. For a moment, she tried to remember everything she had been worried about. But the thoughts seemed far away. Not gone. Only resting somewhere warm. That night, Mara dreamed she was walking through a field after sunset. The grass was tall and blue in the twilight. Above her, hundreds of small lanterns floated in the air. She recognized them. The letter, the money, the apology, the future, the fear of being forgotten, the fear of being too late. But in the dream, they were not chasing her. They were drifting. Fireflies in a quiet field. One by one, they settled into the grass. And as each lantern touched the earth, it became a flower. Not a flower Mara knew. Something pale and moonlit. Something that opened only in darkness. At the center of the field stood an old woman. She held no lantern, no book, no answer. Mara walked to her and asked, "Will everything be all right?" The old woman looked up at the lanterns becoming flowers. Then she said, "Not everything needs to be answered to become softer." Mara woke before dawn. The rain had stopped. The glass ceiling was clear. A single star remained visible, fading slowly into morning. When Mara came downstairs, the sitting room was empty. No old woman, no tray of lanterns, no blue teapot. Only the fire reduced to a soft red glow. On the table was a folded note. Mara opened it. In careful handwriting, it said, "You may come back on any night when your thoughts forget how to rest." Beneath it was a second line. But try first to tell them kindly, not now. Mara stepped outside. The narrow path led her back to the village lane. Morning had arrived. The shop was not yet open. The world had not changed very much. The bills were still beneath the blue bowl. The letter still waited. Time still moved. But Mara felt different inside it. Not solved. Not finished. Only quieter. That evening, when the lamps came on and her thoughts began to gather again at the windows of her mind, Mara lit a candle. She made tea. She sat very still. And one by one, as each worry came near, she greeted it gently and said, "Not now. You may rest. We will speak in the morning." And somewhere beyond the last thought of the day, a little house warmed its windows against the dark, waiting, not because Mara was broken, not because she was lost, but because everyone, sooner or later, needs a place where no answers are required. A place where the heart can set down its lantern. A place where a voice says softly, "You don't have to think tonight." And now the Candlelit Archive grows quiet again. The books return to stillness. The lanterns continue their gentle watch. and the story is safely put away until it is needed once more. You do not need to finish this moment awake. You do not need to hold on to anything from it. Only rest. Only slow down.